Bailey, ready? Come. Yes. So with our little Miss B, we're going to practice a bit with our bed behavior. So we started working this a little bit last week. So we're going to go ahead and you do want to pick a word for your bed or your spot. So my guys normally have bed for their dog bed, and then they have their crate, which is to go kennel up. So again, with our lovely little Miss B, in the beginning, if you're starting to warm her up, you might lure her or sort of help her by luring her onto the bed. And then you might feed her for even targeting the bed with even her front feet. So in the beginning, if she's not always sure what she's doing, you can always help her by luring her there. And eventually you'd be then asking and then getting her to go there and then feed after. So again, we're going to get little Miss B to come all the way onto her little bed. We might gain that gorgeous little sit and feed her for that. So in the beginning, we're warming up with just some simple setups on the target, which is her bed. If let's say she was getting quite comfortable on her bed, we would then go ahead and maybe apply our lovely stay behavior. So for the stay, I'd recommend to think of it almost like freeze tag with room service. So your puppy is stuck in their spot, and while they're stuck on their mat, they're going to be getting fed several snacks for being in that spot. So I'm going to tell her to stay. I'm going to go ahead and feed her several little pieces while she's stuck in her sit stay. Of course, those itches can come out of nowhere, so no big deal if she's in her down. The main goal is that while she's in a stay, she stays in the spot until we end the game. So I like to, again, as I mentioned, think about it as freeze tag with room service or stay for safety or statue stay. So with my puppy, I always feed them in the beginning, especially several rounds, so like several repetitions with food. So I'm building up value and not moving. Some folks have done stay, as in stay there till I call you or stay there till I come get you. I find that can be really confusing, and I like to have a distinct wait and a distinct stay behavior. With the stay, I am feeding the puppy for not moving, where with the wait, I would be calling the puppy to me from a spot or calling them or releasing them to go grab an item. So I typically like to think about my stay as in feeding for no movement, and the wait is feeding for the recall or, for example, the movement. So let's say I want to end this very nice little down stay with little Miss B. I'm going to go ahead and feed her last little snack. Once she's all done chewing, I'm going to go ahead and go right to my puppy and say, all done. If your puppies didn't like touch, I would not apply touch, but instead I would do an all done sort of hand signal. Then what I like to do is sometimes wiggle my fingers, even though there's nothing there. Feed for only being in stay. So I'm going to go ahead, wait for her to place on the mat. Yes. And I'm going to feed her for that targeting. So she was actually targeting this bed while she was out here by her lonesome for a moment while I was helping Ebba with something. And I saw her from 30, 40 feet away go to her little mat and settle on her bed. So I would highly recommend from home, not saying you have to bring a bed to the center, but I would recommend at home, pick a mat or easy target that she could use and implement that in different zones throughout the home so she can start to realize there's a spot that she can go and almost target and relax in. So this is, again, the beginning stages of your stay, but also getting your puppy to learn how to do a settle behavior. So if, let's say, my puppy broke from her position, I might regain that down. Yes, and then go ahead and reapply my stay, which I had not done originally. So remember, if you're just practicing going to bed and making it fun, it doesn't have to be a stay exercise, but I do like to pair my stays with my bed. So that way I'm feeding the puppy for holding this position. If I think she's gonna have a hard time, I go back and feed her last little snack. I would say all done or some sort of release word. And then from there, get her up and wiggling. So you'll see that with Miss B, I was using the all done word. You guys could, for example, decide you like the word finished, free time, all set. Yes, but I would go ahead and pick a slogan that makes sense. I tend to stay away from the word okay, because with the word okay, we use it often. And the problem with the okay as a release is that it starts to replace a lot of other slogans or keywords, and then it gets really confusing for the dog. So if, let's say, we're doing this lovely stay position, I would want to go ahead and just continuously feed her in the beginning every few seconds. So remember we mentioned our duration, so our time frame, our distance, and then as well as our third D is our distraction level. So right now with Miss B, distraction-wise, there's obviously the noises of the room. There is this new environment. She's, again, sometimes hearing the distractions from my little one. So if my puppy breaks from their stay, no big deal. I'd maybe see if I can get her going back to her bed. I know, she's like, well, what's Ebba doing over there? So while she's on her bed, I'm going to go ahead and feed for any attempt in the beginning of going to her target. And I want her to start thinking that there's a lot of great value, yes, in going and choosing to target this spot. So right now, again, she's just got a little itch, so she's allowed to groom and do her usual things, so no worries. And then we're going to go ahead and feed throughout this lovely stay. So if I apply the stay, I normally think of open stop sign, like hand stop. For my wait, if we might go dive into that one later, I think of wait as almost like wait a moment, but we can get into that a little bit later. So for right now, I'm just creating value in being relaxed, not moving, sort of hanging out in a space for a few moments at a time. You'll see that with my down position, I do tend to feed between her front legs. So I'm keeping all 4 feet on the floor by making the value come from the floor and not from up above where she's trying to reach me halfway. Nice job, Miss B. She's like, what is Ebba doing in her sand? So if I lose her again, I'm just going to re-lower the food to the floor, get that lovely down, and just feed once more. Nice. So gorgeous. So let's say we're going to end this little stay. I'm going to get her attention, feed her little snack. She lost one under her fluff earlier. So now I'm done feeding. We're going to let her chew. And I'm going to say, all done. And then from there, we get up and we wiggle. So there's no recall from the stay position. You are simply feeding for your puppy being stuck in their stay. So the way I think about it is typically like freeze tag with room service. Have your puppy think that there's value in not moving. So right now she's often wandering away. I'm going to go, Bailey, come. Yes. Nice job. So throughout the practice, we'll sometimes obviously work other skills as well. So working her little recalls. Now she went back to her little bed and she targeted the bed very nicely. Nice job, cuteness. So again, yes, and we'll feed for that. So, but when practicing stay, I find the greatest times to practice stay are when your puppy is well rested, but has done a few things prior. So earlier she was out and about. She's gone out for a couple little potty breaks. She also got to play with the flirt pole for a little bit. So again, if she wants to take a little breather, she's not stuck in a stay. I was just trying to create, again, that value in her place behavior. So with our little lady, if let's say sometimes she's getting a little bit more distractible, Bailey, come. She's like, hold on, deep thoughts. So if there's a smell or an aroma, there we go, yes. I'd sometimes give her, give her a chance to almost process the information. So if you said her name, you work the recall word, and she's a little unsure, give her 1 to 3 seconds or somewhere around there, and then see if she can go ahead and do the little check-in. If she didn't respond at all after you said your recall and she's still very confused or busy, I would obviously recommend to go closer, try from that second distance. And if she was very, very much so gone, I would recommend to also use your leash or a long line while practicing. So obviously in this environment, there's nowhere really for her to go. So there's no danger of her becoming harmed or running off. But if you're at home and you don't necessarily have a fenced-in yard, yes. Sorry, she's listening to the train that just went by. So as I mentioned, sometimes there's a lot of noises that happen near and around this building, from the big trucks to the trains. Yes. So sometimes I'm also reinforcing behavior, not always a skill set. So even though, yes, going to our bed is very nice or doing a recall is awesome, if there's a moment where my dog is feeling nervous, yes, I want to go ahead and encourage some happy feelings. And a lot of times with us, food encourages happy feelings. So remember that you can't reinforce fear. So if your puppy was ever scared of something, help them like you would a small child to feel comfortable by either, if they find a touch or caresses or being held to be nurturing and comfortable, then try that. If they prefer food or play or exploration, try to encourage some bounce back from the thing that spooked them or got them a little bit nervous with some play or some fun or some food. So that way you can, again, help them become more comfortable and feel safer, even though there could have been something spooky or overwhelming off in the distance. Nice. So again, Miss B, I'm not necessarily working the stay right now, but I'm building up that duration is beneficial. Yes, Abba. Okay, sure. So Ebba needs some help with one of her little dinosaur skeletons. Nice job, Bailey. So we'll give Miss B a little break from her bed exercise, but she was doing a really nice job, and she's, again, listening to those big, loud trucks. Yes. So we're pairing sometimes the noise of the truck again with the fun or the praise or the food that helps Miss B feel much more comfortable. So Bailey, ready? Come. She's like, oh, I'm getting winded. And it is just about time for Miss B's little nap because she is getting a little tired. And then we're going to work on some novelty with different items in just a bit. So I love how she goes and targets her little bed. So I'm just going to feed for that little moment right there because that was gorgeous. Nice job, Miss B. Good job. Smart little girl.